Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to Livelock. Now I've been playing this game for about 5 or so hours right now, and if you like robots, lasers and explosions, this game may very well be something for you. In this video, I want to be going over what Livelock is. I'm going to be explaining the story a little bit, the gameplay, as well as the character customization. And last but not least, I want to try and make the purchasing decision for you a little bit easier and help you decide if this is something you want to pick up. Now, before jumping into it, I do want to give a shout out to Perfect World Entertainment for sponsoring this video. Alrighty, so here we are in the main menu of the game. Now, first and foremost, I want to be showing you around the machine lab, as that is where we will be able to create a character. Now, notice right here, we have got 5 character slots in total, and my very first character is going to be a level 28 Vanguard. And as you may have already noticed, I got 93% of the character unlocked. That means I only need 2 more levels before I'm at the maximum level of 30. Now, keep in mind, I've played this game for about 5 hours or so. I've completed the entire storyline thus far. So per character, there's about 5 or so hours of gameplay if you just want to be completing the storyline and getting to the max level. However, let's say we want to create a new one. We've got a couple of different classes. There are 3 in total in the game right now. So first and foremost, we got the Hex. The Hex is basically a ranged assassin. Your goal is going to be to basically run around with this gun, and that's not to say that my Vanguard doesn't have a gun, but your goal is going to be to do as much damage as possible, whereas the Vanguard right here is going to be basing most of his damage around melee, but also for tanking a lot of the damage from his allies. And then last but not least, we got the Catalyst, who is going to be the support of the bunch. So here's the basic gist of the game. Here's what you do. You jump into a mission, you get an objective, and with your robot, you destroy other robots. That's it. You just simply stomp over other robots using abilities and getting to the end of the level. Now, like I did mention, this is going to be a cooperative game. So that does mean that it's going to be most fun with 2 other people, and you can be grouping up with 3 in total. Ideally, you get 1 of each class, obviously, as that's just simply going to be most efficient. But in general, you can still be playing solo if you want to, just fine as well. And that's actually how I spend most of my time. So you group up with others to simply just destroy stuff, and every single time you complete a level, you gain a level on your chassis, which means that you will be able to unlock a new ability. So for example, you get a new skill or a new weapon, or you just become a little bit stronger all in all. Now, while the main goal of the game is to simply destroy stuff, there is a storyline behind it, and honestly, I wasn't all too impressed. It's set in a post-apocalyptic kind of world where humans had to take over a couple of robots, and basically everything else is terrible and you gotta save the day. The story isn't all too amazing, and it isn't very unique either, but that's not to say that it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's really fun to play through and see what happens. They even added in this database right here where I can basically have a look at all the different things that I'm encountering on my journey, and you can read up on the lore here for just a little while as well. So just to scroll through it a little bit, we got some audio logs that you do indeed unlock, just like you have in, for example, a game like Diablo, where you're constantly learning more about the world. And while the story is pretty basic and it's pretty straightforward, all in all, it isn't bad. It's just not very unique. Now, one thing that did bother me a little bit, and maybe I've been spoiled by AAA titles, but the voice acting in the game is relatively weak as well.
Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
Anyhow, to be completely honest with you, you don't play this game for the storyline. You play it for the gameplay. And let me tell you, it plays like a charm. It works seamlessly. So like I mentioned, I mostly played by myself. I just joined up in a public game, and other people would join me in the middle of a round. The difficulty of the game would automatically scale up when someone else would join in, and there weren't any additional loading screens or anything like that. Whenever someone left, it would automatically also scale down the difficulty once again. So I was honestly very, very impressed with this. Now, by the way, the graphics that you're seeing on the screen right now are all recorded in 4K quality on the highest graphics settings, and it runs super smoothly. Next up, probably the strongest point of this game is the combat. The character has impact on the game. The skills that you got on your character, and we'll go over the customization in a second, but they're all very, very important, and they actually have impact in the game. The character simply responds to what you're telling it to do, and the skills, like I said, are impactful. You've got different weapons that you can switch between, and all in all, the combat is just very, very smooth. So the character that I'm playing right here, the Vanguard, has got a couple of alternate weapons, My basic weapon, however, are going to be the fists that I got. I can be swapping those out as well, for example, an axe. But it runs smoothly. I can switch on the fly, depending on what kind of buffs we're getting and what kind of perks we are achieving. As far as the controls go, you can either play with a mouse and keyboard or with a controller. I played with mouse and keyboard myself, and it worked out just fine. So one of my hands would be on the keyboard to just move around the character using the WASD keys, and then the mouse would just simply be aiming where I want to be attacking to. As far as the difficulty settings goes, I actually decided to play on the middle out of the 3 settings. So this isn't the most difficult setting that you're seeing on the screen right now, but it wasn't easy either. You do have to pay attention, and you can't just mindlessly roll around, as you will get killed. I actually ended up dying more times than I'm willing to admit, even on the middle difficulty, so that's definitely a big plus for me. Alright, so let's talk about character customization. When you first start off, you're only going to be having your weapon. Right here, in my case, those were the gauntlets. However, the longer you play, the more you will unlock. So for example, I can swap this thing out as well to become Reinhardt officially, and get a massive axe as well. This is going to be called the Anvil, apparently. I've tried out both. I tried upgrading both as well, but I actually really enjoyed playing with the default weapon, the gauntlets, just fine, as they did a heck of a lot of damage. Next up, we got on my character, the Rival, and that's going to be my first secondary. Now, the very first one that I unlocked is going to be the Reaper autocannon, and I honestly wasn't too impressed with that, so I decided to mostly play with the Guardian right here. And as you can see, I still have one little bit to unlock on it as well if I want to, which requires carbon. So there is a total of 5 levels on each and every weapon available, and you loot carbon in the game. That's the only kind of thing that you really loot, and that is used to upgrade the quality of your weapon. So as you can see, my gauntlets right here are fully upgraded. My Havoc launcher as well, that basically shoots out a bunch of fire, also is max upgraded. I also have a mine launcher that I also didn't like too much. But anyway, if I wanted to upgrade, say, for example, the Anvil that I have, I just simply have to look at the cost. As you can see, it costs 250 this time around, and I hold down my mouse button and it automatically upgrades it. I can actually upgrade it again, so let's go ahead and do so, which allows me to potentially use the Anvil if I would want to in the next mission. And slowly but surely, we're going to be unlocking everything. The customization as far as the weapon goes, it is alright. It's by no means bad, but it's not very in-depth, if that makes any sense. There's no stats or whatever on these weapons other than the default ones, and you can upgrade them 5 times. That's it. As far as the functions goes, those are basically just the skills that are available. So I've been running with the countermeasures and the 2 function mods right here that are on there, as well as the seismic wave. So those are the 2 that I found to be extremely helpful, but once again, you can be switching those out to different kinds of skills as well. And I've noticed that, in particular, when I grouped up with random other vanguards on the server, it seemed that they were all running completely different sets of skills, which is really, really cool. Anyway, so my thought process behind the 2 that I picked, countermeasures is going to be a defensive skill that I can use whenever I am on low HP, and after not taking any damage for a couple of seconds, I will regenerate out to full. And as you can see, the Disruption Amplifier right there allows me to be invulnerable for a short duration. And then the Seismic Wave is an ability that I use whenever there's a lot of enemies around me, as it will deal area of effect damage. Last but not least, we got my ultimate called the Fault Line right here, and as you may have noticed, I still have one of the function mods, kind of like Ruins I suppose, to be unlocked at level 30. As far as character customization goes, when you go around the world, you will slowly but surely unlock more and more of these things called firmware. And you can use those to customize your character at least a little bit. So as you can see, for example, I've been gathering quite a couple of things. I quite like number 7 actually. That one looks probably the most badass. Then the third one right here on this character is going to be a cloak, so I can switch those out as well. Ooh, definitely not going to be running with 10. But there is a little bit of character customization on it. In general, I seem to be running mostly with just the most badass looking one, and that's going to be number 8 right here. And then the middle slot is like a recolor of my gear. So if I wanted to, I could easily use the yellow one right here. And I actually spent most of my time just simply running with the default one, as I thought it would look best with the gauntlets. But say I want to be, you know, for example, in the red, white, and blue colors and represent many of the countries out there who all use the colors, or these colors right here on their flag, I could easily be running with these settings as well, which does allow you to, at the very least, have a different look on your character than the other players are in the world. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the character customization is honestly a little bit shallow. There is no loot in the game other than the carbon that I mentioned earlier, and it does allow you to upgrade your weapons, but you can only upgrade your weapons in a set amount. I mean, I've been playing, like I said, for about 5 hours or so, and I've nearly got all of the weapons that I enjoy using the most fully upgraded, and I easily could have if I didn't spend so many carbon points, I suppose, on upgrading weapons that I don't really use a whole lot. For example, I spent just a whole lot on that anvil, right? And if I would have just saved it up and committed myself right from the beginning to 3 weapons only, I would have easily maxed out. And with that, I only have got a very limited amount of customization, and I think it's sort of a missed opportunity, as they could have easily added more depth right here. Now, if you are a more hardcore player and you like the leaderboards, what you can do is go, for example, to the campaign mode. And here you can choose any of the missions that are available in the game, and you can replay them if you want to. So, for example, right here in Mission 2-1 Crash Site, I've got rank 820 on my very first attempt. I've not replayed any of these missions. But what I could try and do is get the highest score possible in the world. So if you go to the leaderboards really quickly, we can have a quick look at what the highest rank is that people managed to achieve. So I managed to get about 8 million points in total during this one, and apparently the rank 1 in the world has got 1.1 billion. I don't know exactly how he managed to do that. I think he found some sort of glitch here that allowed him to get way more points than number 2. But anyhow, if you want to, you can try and get the highest rank possible. And the way you get more points is just by simply completing levels faster, killing stuff faster as well. But most importantly, you lose a lot of the points if you end up dying. There's this thing called a reprint bonus that doubles your total score when you end the mission. But if you've died, it immediately halves the amount of points that you're getting, which really does make it a lot more interesting. So if you are a little bit more hardcore, you can try and set some world records here. Alright, so to wrap things up, this game runs like a charm. It runs very, very smoothly, and it's one of the best recent hack and slash games that I have played. The game is €20, which I think is a fair price for it. However, if you have a quick look at the competition that plays relatively similarly to this game, I think it's gonna be a hard buy. Direct competitors to this game are going to be games such as Diablo, Torchlight, Path of Exile, and that last one you can play for free as well. But to be fair, those games have been out for quite a while, and if you have played those, you probably are a little tired of them. And while this game is relatively basic and relatively average, that is not necessarily saying that it's bad. I had an absolute blast playing through it. I love the graphics, I love the combat, and I had a joy just simply running through the levels, trying to get to the end, and constantly unlocking new things on my character and being a little bit stronger in the next mission. And while it doesn't necessarily bring anything new, it's definitely good and fun to play and worth picking up if you enjoy these types of games, or maybe in the future whenever it goes on sale. I think they were simply trying to create a game that runs well, that plays well, and that is meant to be grouped up in. And honestly, they have delivered on that product. And while I'm personally a little bit more of a hardcore player and I'm always looking out for loot and more bosses and all that kind of shenanigans, I think it's an absolute blast to play if you enjoy action role-playing games. Plus, they are asking a fair price for what it is. I'm looking at you, No Man's Sky. Anyways, that is where I'm going to be ending this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you haven't already, hit that like button, and if you want to see more content like this in the future, do make sure you hit that subscribe button as well so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. And other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I will see you in the next one.